Okay, good day everyone. My name is Devi Labus from BE Ed first year. So now we are in lesson 6 topic which is all about the act of proclamation of independence of the Filipino people. So here we are going to talk about how the Filipinos gained the independence that we have today and at the same time how the Philippines got its independence and at the same time we're also going to talk about the one of the primary sources that used as the evidence on this proclamation or what we call Acta de la Proclamación de la Independencia of Filipino People, the Latin word of proclamation of the Philippine independence, wherein this is read by Ambrosio Rinzares during the proclamation of the Philippine independence by June 12, 1898. So, if you remember, ang mudya ang isa sa mga, kumbaga, ginugunitang mga araw kung sa Tagalog every June 12, which is Independence Day. So, later, we will notice what was the difference between July 4 of 1996 with July 12, 1898. Okay, so let's start with the historical context of the text or the historical background of the Proclamation of Independence in the Philippines. So during 1897, that was December, a truce was declared between the two forces with Filipino leaders led by General Emilio Aguinaldo, which is our former president, agreeing to be exiled to Hong Kong, while the Spaniards paid an indemnity for the damages caused as a result of the conflict. So, this was the time nga ginpaadto sa Hong Kong si Governor General Emilio Aguinaldo. Okay, the renewed conflict would have been disastrous for the Filipinos if not for the deteriorating diplomatic relations between Spain and the United States over the another revolution in Cuba. So this eventually led to the Spanish-American War o ang ginatawag naton nga Cuban's War between Spanish and American War in 1898 and the arrival of a new colonizer to the Philippines, the Americans. Imagine sa Cuba tapos duha ka bansa ang nag-aaway and that was happened April 25, 1898. Even before the battle in Manila or the Mac Battle of Manila Bay nga ginatawag naton that was happened May 1, 1898, Aguinaldo had already been meeting the Americans in Singapore. But before he arrived in Singapore, he was came from in Hong Kong. Okay, so when Aguinaldo was in Singapore, he talked with Consul E. Spencer Pratt, which is this was regarding with the U.S.-Filipino collaboration against the Spaniards before he went back to Hong Kong to meet up with Commodore George Dewey, which is one of the commander of the Asiatic Fleet. So after the talking or after consulting with the Aguinaldo to Pratt, ang ginhimo niya is nagstay siya sa Hong Kong. So Aguinaldo remained in Hong Kong and met with the American Consul General Ronceville Wildman. He paid Wildman a total of 117,000 pesos to purchase rifles and ammunition. A shipment worth 50,000 was made, but the other half was never delivered. Wildman never returned the given to him. Okay, on May 19, 1898, Aguinaldo finally returned to the Philippines on board of the U.S. cruiser Macoloch. Aguinaldo conferred with Dewey on Philippine conditions and was supplied with arms captured from the Spaniards. Okay, earlier on May 24, Aguinaldo announced the creation of the dictatorial government. The formation of this type of the rule was a necessity when the growing nation needed a strong leader. He emphasized that the dictatorship was only temporary, as would be a prelude to the establishment of a republican form government. Okay, on May 28, the Filipino forces won their first victory in Alapan, Imos. The newly maiden Filipino flag was hoisted in Alapan, the later unfloored at the Teatro Cavitino in Cavite Nuevo, or now Cavite City, in front of the Filipinos and captured Spanish soldiers. A group of American officers and soldiers witnessed the ceremony. Okay, on June 12, 1898, Aguinaldo declared Philippine independence from Spanish rule at a ceremony in his house, Kawit, Cavite. Okay, Ambrosio Rienvarez Bautista read the declaration that was later signed by 177 persons, including the American military officer. Now, the Philippine national anthem, known as Marcha Nacional Filipina, composed by Julian Felipe, was played by the Banda de San Francisco de Malabon, and the Philippine flag was again flourished. Okay, so let's now talk about the author of the proclamation. So here, actually, ang nagsulat yun sa whole content is si Ambrosio Reinzares Bautista, but since the proclamation was credited to the Governor General, and at the time, si Governor General Emilio Aguinaldo ang nag-advise kay Ambrosio to write the content, so siya ang gin-consider natin nga author. Okay, so let's now have the background of Emilio Aguinaldo. So, Emilio Aguinaldo was born on March 22, 1869, and almost 24 years old lang siya that time na naging Gobernador General siya. So, it was in Kawit, Cavite, in Cavite El Viejo, the second to the youngest of the 8 children of Carlos Aguinaldo and Trinidad Fame. The Aguinaldos were a wealthy and influential family, with Carlos being Gobernadorcillo for several terms.
Hello everyone, my name is Daisy Castañeda, and for the continuation of our report, here is the background of the author. So, the election for a pamahalaang panghihimagsik were held in Barrio Tejeros, San Francisco de Malabon, which is considered now as General Trias Cavite. So, on March 22, 1897, Aguinaldo was elected president with Mariano Trias as his vice president, Artemio Ricarte as his captain general, Emilio Rigio de Jesus as his director of War, and Andres Bonifacio as the Director of the Interior, which is during this time there was a discrimination because if we remember, Emilio Aguinaldo became a member of Katipunan, and during that time, ang aton nga Katipunan natunga na sa duha ka kupunan nga gintawag nila nga magdalo and then magdiwang. So, months after or later, sang naging kapitan sang municipal of Kawit, Cavite, ang tatay ni Aguinaldo, ang ginhimo niya is nag-join siya sa Katipunan, which is ang Magdalo. And then, ang pag-join niya sa Katipunan is isa sa mga naging stepping stones kung paano nag-start ang first president or elected president in the history of the Philippines. So, sang time nga na, there was a discrimination because in the first place, according to the critics or mga kritikong tao behind of this historical context, is ginhambal nila nga bias because sa Cavite mismo ginheld ang election, which is sa lugar mismo ni Aguinaldo. So they discriminated the educational attainment of Andres Bonifacio, kay ang natapos lang gid ni Bonifacio is elementary, unlike kay Aguinaldo nga mas mataas kaysa sa na-take ni Bonifacio. So consider nila si Aguinaldo kaysa kay Bonifacio. But the election were disrupted following protest over Bonifacio's educational qualification for such a position. Bonifacio angrily declared the result of the elections null and void and walked out. When Bonifacio tried to put up his own government with an armed group, he was arrested and tried for petition. Found guilty, the Supremo and his mother Procopio were executed on May 10, 1897.
To continue the report, I am Kim Dangautan. So, on June 10, 1896, General Emilio Aguinaldo issues one sentence decree appointing his Auditor General of War, Ambrosio Rianzares Bautista, as the Special Commissioner to write the Act of the Declaration of the Independence.
To continue the report, I am Kristen May Arro. Relevance. The declaration is of course the sole document that proves the value Filipinos place on their freedom. However, it must be understood that the independence we attained in 1898 was freedom that was fraught for the lives of Filipino. So that was a report about the Act of Proclamation of Independence of the Filipino people. Again, my name is Kristen May Arro. together with Divi Labus, Daisy Castañeda, and Kim Dangautan from BEd first year. Thank you.